Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending on where you are. I am delighted to welcome you all in this Risk and Management webinar. My name is Youssef K, the Account Manager for Risk and Management in PECB and the organizer of this webinar. Today's topic will be on implementation of enterprise risk management with ISO 31000 risk management standard, which will be presented by Youssef K, an executive consultant and trainer with several qualifications. He is an accomplishment expert with over 10 years experience in the field of risk management, project and program management. Uncertainty presents both risk and opportunity with the potential to erode or enhance value. Enterprise risk management enables management to effectively deal with uncertainty and associated risk and opportunity, enhancing the capacity to build value. To find out much more and ask your question regarding ERM, today's webinar will cover the following: the start of any enterprise risk management program, the approach to developing a framework that will assist organizations to integrate risk and management into their enterprise-wide risk management systems, and the relationship between the foundations of the risk management framework and their objectives. Before Mr. Youssef begins his presentation, I would like to ask the audience to please write down any questions you may have during the webinar in the chat box on your control panel. And in the end, we will respond to a few of them and answer to the remaining through email. Thank you for your attention and enjoy the session. Youssef, you may start the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Albert. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, everyone. So, first of all, I would like to talk about that why we need to discuss risk. Risk is something that we all face every day. As a company, we have to take risks in pursuit of our achieving the different sort of commercial objectives. We have to raise awareness that we all have to manage risk as part of our daily working lives as well as the personal objectives. I hope so everyone will agree with this. So first of all, we need to go for this point that which sort of concept we have about the risk management. So the risk management is basically a deliberate part of our daily life activities, like the very lay and the journal examples I quoted here, by crossing the roads, going for a party, going for a swim session, risk for getting run over, risk of fire, theft, storm, risk of going broke, risk of drowning, risk of having any disease, and all. So the choices we make in choosing to accept these risks is a part of who we are, in fact. So this is basically a glimpse of a very ordinary sort of risk management definition. Perception of risk, a simple example that which method of transportation, first suppose, has to the greatest fatality rate. So can be by air, by road, through a car or a motorbike, cycling, walking, or by a train. So the statistics after a research result, most probably people have to choose that they should travel for their convenience, according to their convenience, through motorbike, and then walking, and then cycling, and then by road through a car, and then by boat, and then by train, and on the seventh number, that's by air. So most probably, our perceptions usually determine our view of the level of risks posed by an activity. So this was the purpose to show or to present the previous 3-4 slides. So this was a journal concept or awareness sort of discussion about the risk management. So one of the saying of Einstein, if you cannot explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. So here is a glimpse of some sort of as an example of environmental sources of risks: physical exposure, financial asset exposure, human asset, legal liability, moral liability. So that moves towards the strategic, program, operational, and project objectives. So then which sort of environment leads? Physical, economic, social, legal, operational, cognitive, and political. So here is basically a glimpse of some of the environmental sources of risks. So through this discussion or slides of information, I'm leading towards my main main idea or main topic or main conceptual area towards today's webinar's topics of risk management. So please note it down or make a good concept on it. So as we know that the risk, the effect of risk control on performance, the journal ideas we have, the bookish ideas we have, the expert idea we have. So here is the graphical representation of ignorant, managing, and obsessed level. So in ignorant, export and destroying performance, your project can be disturbed, your manpower can be disturbed, the scope, time, cost, quality, communication, integration, stakeholder, all managements can be affected or can be disturbed through an ignorant sort of thinking towards risk management. So we can, excuse me, we can manage or we can organize our risks, or we can mitigate our risks through a middle graphical area that is basically a managing area of the risks. And on the right hand side, the obsessed level, then excessive controls minimize risk and constrain performance. So a journal sort of high, low performance of risk management. So always we have to cater it with a certain sort of level of risk control. So here we have to see in words as in a definition that what is ERM. So ERM is, as we know, there's enterprise risk management. So it's a process affected by an entity's board of directors, top management, the journal management, and other personnels applied in strategy setting and across the enterprise, designed to identify potential events that may affect the entity and manage risks to be within its risk appetite, to provide reasonable assurance regarding the achievement of entity objectives. So there are lots of definitions exist on the globe about ERM. So in my point of view, and in my knowledge level, this ERM definition deems fit in any scenario. So here we'll discuss a little about the ERM, the life cycle. So enterprise risk management life cycle is basically, we can judge it with a three-phased a cubic picture that is having on the top having a strategic operations, reporting and compliance section, on upfront internal environment, objective setting, event identification, risk assessment, risk response, control activities, information and communication, monitoring, and on the extreme right, the subsidiary, business unit, division, entity level. So here we will see a glimpse about the enterprise risk management life cycle. We'll start from internal environment till information and communication level. So the internal environment linked with the culture, objective settings through goal settings, event and identification and risk assessment through identify and prioritize risks, risk response through the evaluation, different sort of evaluation options, the control activities will basically lead or confirm the next steps, and information and communication is basically leads with the implementation. And the last but not least is one of the level which is basically will evaluate the exact performance of the risk, enterprise risk management. The final stage which will lead along with the ERM life cycle. So basically ERM provides a comprehensive and systematic approach to more proactive and holistic risk management. Provides a common lexicon of risk management and provides direction and guidance for implementing ERM. ERM requires that organizations examine their complete portfolio of risks, consider how those risks interrelate, and that management develops an appropriate risk mitigation approach to address these risks in a manner that is consistent with the organization's strategy and risk appetite. And now I would like to discuss that what is the enterprise risk management not. Enterprise risk management, a silver bullet, that's not a silver bullet to prevent risks from occurring. So the ERM life cycle is basically the the form try to explain here in a cuboid picture, in which on the topmost the strategic operations, reporting and compliance, upfront internal environment, objective setting, event identification, risk assessment, risk response, control activities, information and communication, and the last but not least is the monitoring. And on the right hand side, there is subsidiary, business unit, division, entity level. So here we will see another pick of another ERM life cycle. That here we will start from internal environment leads towards the information and communication and the evaluation session. So here the internal environment will lead through culture, objective settings through goal setting, event identification, risk assessment through identify and prioritize risks, evaluate options through risk response through evaluate options, control activities through a confirm next steps, information and communication is routing through implement, and the last but not least is to evaluate the performance. So here is basically the culture, goal setting, identify and prioritize risks, evaluate options, confirm next steps, implement, evaluate performance is basically the ERM life cycle. ERM basically provides a comprehensive, systematic approach to more proactive and holistic risk management, provides a common lexicon of risk terminology, and provides direction and guidance for implementing ERM. Requires that organization examine their complete portfolio of risks, consider how those risks interrelate, and that management develops an appropriate risk mitigation approach to address these risks in a manner that is consistent with the organization's strategy and risk appetite. What ERM is not? A silver bullet to prevent risks from occurring. A methodology or a checklist of items that need to be completed that guarantee results. The only way organizations can take a more proactive approach to managing risks. So here is a glimpse from a 2013 REMS Enterprise Risk Management Survey. So here is that the 56% is the risk management, the strategy, the finance, the internal audit, compliance, legal, and not but least other areas. So here we can see a pie chart for the primarily responsible, the departments, the personnel in the top management, in the middle management, responsible primarily for the enterprise risk management. So here we go now, the professional definition, the shop floor definition, the corporate definition of the risk management. The effect of uncertainty on the ability of an organization to meet its objective. Risk management is what? The range of activities that an organization intentionally undertakes to understand and reduce these effects. And what is highly effective risk management as executing these activities efficiently and in a way that actually and demonstrably improves the ability of the organization to meet its objectives in a repeatable fashion. So here is on the screen, there is we need to manage a good relationship between risk management, and the effective risk management strategies and ways. So I hope so. But this slide, the information on it, is explaining a reasonable concept of risk management. Excuse me. Why it is important? The risk management is important. The risk affects all aspects of your project, your budget, your schedule, your scope, the agreed level of quality, and so on. It increases the probability of positive event, and it reduces the occurrence of negative event. What does it include? Risk management planning, identification of risk qualitative analysis, risk quantitative analysis, the planning of the risk response, and the monitoring and control of risks. How is it done in project? Make risk management part of your project. Identify risk early in your project. Communicate about risks. Consider both opportunity and threats, and clarify different issues of the ownership. And it's prioritize risks, analyze risks, implementation and the planning phase of the risk responses, register of project risks, and the track system of the different sort of risks associated and different sort of tasks associated. So here now we will move towards the standard, which is strongly related and associated with the risk management, that is ISO 31000 2009. So this is an international standard that provides the principle and guidelines which we will discuss in detail later in upcoming slides for effective risk management. Not specific to any industry or sector, this ISO 31000 able to be applied to any kind of risk, able to be applied to any kind of organization, intend to be tailored to meet the needs of the organization. So the generic approach described in the standard provides the principles and the guidelines for managing any form of risk in a systematic, transparent, and credible manner, and within any sort of scope and context. So we will see here some of glimpse of the points about the scope of ISO 31000. So this provides principles and generic guidelines on principle and implementations of risks management. It can be applied to any kind of organization risk type and is not specific to any industry or sector. In the scope of this, ISO 31000 is not intended to be used for the purpose of certification from any CB, a certification body usage to allot or to give the system certification to any organization. This is not usable, or this is not having the knowledge, or we can say is not having its own scope to provide that sort of level that in which the organization will certify any CB will certify any organization as a risk management certified company. So the users of ISO 31000 responsible for implementing risk management within their organization, those who need to ensure that an organization manages risks, those who need to manage risks for the organization as a whole or within a specific area or activity, those needing to evaluate an organization's practices in managing risks, and the last but not least is this developers of standards, guides, procedures, and codes of practice that in whole or in part see out how risk is to be managed within the specific context of these documents. So what this Standard cover, in fact, a set of risk management terms and their definitions, principle guidelines informing the effective risk management for an enterprise sort of environment, an outline and process for creating a risk management framework. This standards covers or contains an outline and process for creating a risk management process. And this standard is very organized, very straightforward, very sort of sensible information contained in it. It's very clear and concise, and it's brief, it's very simple, and composed on 24 pages. So here in this ISO 31000, I would like to show a glimpse on it's showing it on number one. I explained you little in the previous slides, and on the second point about the ISO 31000, it shows and it gives some of the highly good sort of and the knowledgeable sort of concept about its objectives, the corporate planning process. So that is basically, we will see the green and the pink boxes, the strategic objective, the operational objective, reporting objective, compliance objective, risk event, risk event, risk event, and risk event. So will lead to each other, and risk analysis, risk evaluation, risk treatment, and is basically roaming around the monitor and the review of the risks. So now we will see a glimpse about the ISO 31000 principles. So the principles about that it creates value as an integral part of organization processes, part of decision making, explicitly addresses uncertainty, systematic, structured, and timely, based on the best available information. It's tailored, takes human and culture factors into account, transparent and inclusive, dynamic, iterative, and responsive to change, facilitates continual improvement and enhancement of the organization. So here we'll see a glimpse of how to establish the risk assessment process, how we can establish the risk assessment process. So here we can start it from that on the left and on the extreme left or the extreme right, the communicate and consult and monitor and review. So in between we have to see and we have to follow establish the context, identify risks, what can happen, how it can happen, and on the later slide we will discuss little about some risk registers that will explain in detail that how we can identify risks and what are the different ways to identify risks. Then we have to move forward towards the analyze this, determine existing controls, evaluate risks, and treat risks. Alba, I hope so. I'm going fine. There is no problem at all. If there is, then kindly please interrupt me. Thank you. So when we in this picture, when we have to in this picture, when we have to move towards accept risks. So then we have to say if we have to accept the risk after establishing, after identifying, after analyzing risk, determine existing controls. So evaluate risks, then monitor and review. So we have to accept it. We have to accept risks. If it's yes, then we have to say that in monitor and review. If there is no, then we need to treat the risks first, and then we can move towards the monitor and review. And here we go, that the framework implementation, the number of details we are running in a shortage of time, as I received a message from the host that I am running the shortage of time. So actually, and you people know this, that the risk management is in a very vast sort of topic. So I'll try to conclude as soon as possible, Albert, and I'll try to give a concept within a minimum time to all the audiences. So commit and mandate in the framework implementation, the communicate and train, review and improve, structure and accountability. And in between we can see this dotted line, that how we can go with the established context and the risk assessment, as we have discussed in the previous slide. Then we need to identify risk, analyze risk, evaluate risk, and treat risks. This is basically, this slide is basically linked with this slide. The ISO review, the three main classes plus terminology from an ISO guide, that is in a 4.2 point, that mandate and commitment, design of framework for managing risk, implementing risk management, continual improvement of the framework, monitoring and review of the framework. So this is basically for the framework for the managing risk is basically completely the clause 4 is about this, and it's clause 3. And this clause 3 this is about the principles for the managing risk that create value, showing the integral part of the organization, part of decision making, lots of valuable sort of information here about the creating value of the risk management. And in clause 5, the important clause is process for managing risk. Here is basically a sort of a pick for the risk fabric, that how risk starts from, that from the lower, which is green, mid is yellow, and high risk is red. So here is basically about sort of the risk treatment tool, in which we have to number one, that the risk, number two, we will go for the causes, then the impact of these causes, and then the sort of existing controls we have, the preventive measure, and then existing control, the reactive, and the post of the event. And the further, if we want to move further, so then here are some different points showing to us this blue arrow towards the existing preventive controls, the control honor, and the existing reactive controls, and blah blah blah, lots of things involved in it. Risk treatment can involve avoiding the risk, taking on increasing risk in order to pursue an opportunity, removing the risk source, changing the likelihood, changing the consequences, transferring the risk or sharing with another party, retaining the risk by informed decision, or we can see and add in some of the points according to the scenario and according to the scene in it, in the involvement phase of the risk treatment. Why should we apply ISO 31000? When should use ISO 31000? So when we have to ask to identify or risk assess, manage risk, assess a risk management framework or process, and then how we should use it. Use it to frame the scope of the work, to guide the engagement, to create a risk management process. So in a nutshell, at an abstract or a summary, The ISO 31000 gives us a structured, credible foundation for discussion with about risk and risk management. A process, if you don't have one, a starting point of a risk management process, if you don't have one, it gives you a standard vocabulary for talking about risk management and all associated risk. It gives a baseline for comparison and assessment of risk management processes. So on this slide, here are some benefits after implementing this international standard of ISO 31000 of risk management. So it increased likelihood of achieving objectives, encourage proactive management, improve awareness of need to identify and treat risk throughout the organization, improve the identification of opportunities and threats, improve mandatory and voluntary reporting. Obviously, it improved awareness, improved stakeholder confidence and trust. It improved the overall control on the whole risk management, effectively allocate and use resources for risk treatment, improve the operational effectiveness and efficiency of the process, enhance health and safety performance, as well as the environmental protection, improve the loss prevention and incident management, minimize losses, improve organizational learning, improve organization resilience. So the very important slide, this is a statistic. The countries with the highest level of awareness, they have about the ISO standard of 31000. So in which Australia is on highest, 65%, New Zealand 47%, Canada 42%, UAE 37%, Brazil 28%, South Africa 26%, Spain 21%, Netherlands 21%, UK 21%, Finland 18%, Italy 14%, France 13%, and the last but not least, USA is 11%. So risk management involving into risk leadership, the very important slide, the position, the challenges, the opportunities. Profession is hard to define, similarities to non-executive directors. So these are the points which you can see. We are running in the shortage of time. Extremely sorry for that. And then you people can see all these points, the valuable information towards the risk management leadership online in the PECB online database of webinars. Thank you so much, audience. And now I am ready for the question and answer session. Audience, you people can write down your question on the right hand side in the question area, and then I'll answer accordingly.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Khan. Sorry for the audio problems. Since we don't have much time, please write all the questions in the question box, and then Mr. Khan will answer to them throughout email. Thank you again, Mr. Youssef, for this highly informative webinar, and I want to thank all the attendees as well who have taken time out of their busy schedule to participate. This webinar is also recorded. It can be found in PECB page. Don't forget to check back on our upcoming webinars on topics of your interest. Meet you all again same day at the same time on a topic of vendor sustainability program development. I'm looking forward to seeing you all next week. Until then, have a great week.